OnlyFans is nothing more than digital sexual perversion. I'm over it. I know you're over it. In today's episode, we're going to go over some of the dark sides of OnlyFans. Remember, this is not an episode for people under the age of 18, but parents, if you're watching this, you need to be watching, and I suggest you stick to the end. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Asia Branch. I'm the host of America First AI podcast and the founder of the America First AI network. Now let's just get into this. OnlyFans is one of the biggest money makers in the in the pornography industry. For those of you who don't think that OnlyFans is pornography, I don't know what to tell you, but it is. Now, I'm going to be reacting to an interview that Lara Logan has done recently with a young woman named Victoria Sinnis. I'm going to show you guys some of the clips there because it's important for you to get some of the context so that way you're as informed as I am, if not more so. And I will leave the link in the description for you guys so you can go and you can watch the entire episode. And I suggest that you do because it's not just Lara doing investigative journalism. It is her deep diving into the illusion and the lie that is OnlyFans, while also informing parents the things that they can do to combat the things coming at the minds of their children. It is more than just, flirtatious, sexual innuendo like photos and videos. It's more than that. It is pay-per-view. Pornography, full-blown pornography. And that's what we're going to find. That's what we learn in Lara Logan's interview. Now, for those of us who already knew that, we didn't need Lara Logan to do a deep dive on that. We kind of just knew it instinctively as Christians, as Americans. We knew that's what this was. You wanted to create a platform that was pornography meets Instagram and meets TikTok and meets Facebook, but all behind a paywall. That's what they wanted to do. That's exactly what they created. So anyone who needed this interview to figure that out, I'm sorry. I'm not going to call you thick in the head, but you need those two brain cells in your, hold hands, because a lot of us didn't need that to tell us that it was pornography. But Victoria Sinnis, she doesn't talk about OnlyFans just as a woman who's done OnlyFans. In fact, she is not an OnlyFans model. She actually worked in the marketing side, not for OnlyFans, the company, but there are these side businesses that come out. And that's the kind of thing that she was doing, right? She has an expertise in marketing. She worked and built marketing businesses before. And so a friend of hers decided that he was going to create what is considered an OnlyFans agency. And their job is to onboard clients, OnlyFans models, for lack of a better phrase, to onboard them and to manage their regular social media stuff to really increase their viewership, their subscriptions on their OnlyFans. In this interview that we're going to talk about and that we're going to react to together, Victoria really goes in depth about that. Now I'm just going to go over a couple of clips here, but you guys are going to be like mind blown because that's exactly how I was when I watched it. In fact, it totally changed my perspective on the OnlyFans models. Like, I used to think of OnlyFans models as, let me not mince words. I thought of them as hoes. Like, I didn't care if you were a virgin or not. You are digitally selling your body and you're no better than a woman who does it in IRL. Like, why? I don't discriminate. I look at it the same way. I have a judgment. There's judgment there. And it sucks to say that as a Christian. But like I said in my video when I did the Jubilee reaction, I'm humble enough to acknowledge when I'm wrong, to say when I'm wrong, and to say where I struggle as a Christian. And I really do prefer to do that on this channel when I react to things. Like, I'm not going to be reacting to all the things that's culturally trending and politically trending, but I am going to react to things that do change my perspective as a Christian or challenge my views and humbles me in my faith. Because again, I looked at these women like they were hoes. I found a nice way to put it. But ultimately, that's what they were. But by the end of this interview that Victoria Sinnis did with Lara Logan, it changed my entire perspective on them. Because it's like, yes, you're being digitally promiscuous. And yes, I have judgment for women who are digitally promiscuous. It's not about if you're a virgin or not, because I'm not a virgin. And so I don't hold judgment to women who aren't virgins. But women who are promiscuous, I have judgment. And there's a level of a prejudice there. But I love my king more, where if I can be a positive influence in some way to say, you know what, yes, you're doing this wrong thing, but God is there with you anyway. We have to show up for those who are choosing this path, for choosing this behavior. And I'll explain more of that towards the end of this episode, but I want to jump right into the reaction videos of this. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pull this clip up for you guys.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning so people understand how you came to learn all of this, and take us to really where it began, right? When you started this agency.
Yep. So what had happened for me is that I was actually helping another friend build businesses. So my background is in businesses and marketing and sales, and specifically startups. I love startup businesses. So I was helping one of my very close friends in hospitality, building restaurants. And so we were working crazy weeks, 100-hour work weeks for months and months on end. And so I was like, I need a break. Like, I can't keep doing this. This is so intense. So I went on vacation for a month to Europe. Now, while I was in Europe, I had another friend decide that they wanted to start this thing called an OnlyFans agency. And so the reason why they wanted to start an OnlyFans agency is they had people in their world that were some of the biggest OnlyFans creators that we actually have in Australia. Instagram famous, all the different things, right? And those girls were actually complaining about their agencies. So
I'm like, I can't even believe that is a thing. Like, I mean, I know I shouldn't be surprised by it, but I mean, who wouldn't be? I mean, let's call a spade, people. Like, who really thinks that there's an agency behind not OnlyFans, the company, but behind the OnlyFans girls, right? I mean, Instagram famous and TikTok famous, all these people just creating content just to attract audiences to pay-per-view. That made sense, right? That just makes sense. I just thought it was the girls doing this. But when you hear agencies imply services. Someone's doing something for you, right? You have these YouTube agencies, people who know how to best optimize your channels. You have Rumble agencies popping up left and right, which I adore, right? Because again, there's someone here who knows how to best optimize your channel, your brand, your media brand. Same thing with Instagram agencies, social media managers, content manager. You know, these are the things that, you know, in the digital space in these online businesses, they're usually agencies that know how to best optimize your content. And so when I hear agency behind, you know, an OnlyFans agency, right, where their job is to attract successful OnlyFans models, it's like, well, you're an agency, you're providing services. It's got to be in content. How are you doing that? And she does go on to say that, but oh my gosh, like, would you ever think that? I wouldn't.
One of my close personal friends was like, well, they have an exceptional educational background. They were actually an ex-criminal defense lawyer. And so they were like, well, I have a really good background educationally. We already have girls that we know that are in OnlyFans. They're quite successful. They know what agencies need. Well, let's ask Vic and get Vic on board, because she's the only one that actually has the business and marketing experience. And together we'll be this like amazing dream team girl power like agency. So when I come back,
you heard that? Girl power. I am woman. Hear me roar. I hear that. That makes me want to run for the hills. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I'm a female. I am a woman. I am proud to be a woman. But when I hear women go, I am woman, hear me roar, or anything like that, like girl power. Yeah, no. Girl boss. No, I don't want to hear that. That, you know, but because, you know, she's not conservative, or at least at that point, not conservative, that didn't bother her. She got all caught up in the girl power.
From Europe, that's when I was approached, and they were like, hey, we're starting this business. Would you be interested in helping us to build it? And so that's how I got involved in the actual agency.
And what does an agency do for OnlyFans?
Yeah,
here it comes.
So the way that I like to break down OnlyFans agencies is there's kind of three main elements to an OnlyFans agency. So for people that aren't even particularly maybe even aware of what OnlyFans is, just to give a little bit more context as to the role that agencies play. The whole allure of OnlyFans is the direct communication that people can have in the platform. So the way that it works is that you subscribe to a girl's OnlyFans, and there's all this locked content that's in messages. So this can be any type of content, technically speaking. But what the whole allure is that we're going to sit there, and that girl that you follow on Instagram, well, I can now message her on OnlyFans, build a relationship with her to some capacity, and I can get her to do anything that I want. And so if you kind of put your business brains on,
like, look at Lara's face. It's like, whoa.
Think about that logistically, right? So if you have a girl that has like 100,000 followers on Instagram, well, OnlyFans doesn't have a way to internally promote the platform. That's why you use platforms like TikTok and Instagram to promote OnlyFans and funnel people in. So if you have a girl that has hundreds of thousands of followers, just say, on Instagram, and she's funneling all of those followers to OnlyFans, well, she can't facilitate having conversations with thousands of people.
Not possible.
Not possible, correct. So what does she do? She offsets that work to an agency.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So that's where agencies come in. So aspect number one is account management. So the whole role is to maximize the earning potentials on girls' OnlyFans accounts. So make as much money as possible, basically.
I mean, there's a lot more to the agency side of things, and we're going to get there. You know, I do employ you guys to watch this interview fully, so that way you guys can understand that there are people who are building these agencies. Like, it's a real thing. And here's the reality. And I know it's going to happen. There's two types of things that I see happening. And because I am America First AI podcast, and my business is called America First AI Network, it would be a disservice to me disservice to you, excuse me, to not tell you what is going to happen with AI in that specific space. These agencies are not just going to create, these, like she said, specifically in the account management part. As someone who studied AI this entire year and seeing where AI chatbots and automation and voice agents are going to come in, what's going to start happening is that you're going to see a lot of AI influencers, a lot of AI consultants go into these OnlyFans agencies and sell them workflows, automation workflows, AI agents that can handle all of the messaging, that can be prompted with the behaviors of this girl, the so-called girls that Victoria referenced, and it can engage with all of them, and they're still going to be paid because it's their AI agents, right? That AI builders, if you will, agent builders or AI agencies are going to build for these OnlyFans agencies. On top of that, if you're seeing on Instagram these AI influencers, what is going to happen when OnlyFans gets flooded with AI human lookalike OnlyFans girls, right? So the women no longer have to be there, but it'll still be these visual content. These OnlyFans agencies no longer have to no longer have to onboard these girls. They can just use AI and create them themselves. They can create up to 100 of these AI OnlyFans girls, and then manage their accounts with their AI agents, and then easily just bring in $180, right? Because in this interview, Victoria Sinnis says the average income for an OnlyFans model is like $180. It's like she said, I believe it's like 3.8 million women, a couple 100,000 men on OnlyFans. Like less than 1%, I think she said, make millions of dollars. The average income for someone on OnlyFans is $180. She also said that the big dollars, the big money on OnlyFans in this interview, she goes on to say what more it is. Now, that's the part I want us to get to. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pull that clip for you guys. And that's the part I'm going to react to next.
What are the other things that they do to lure girls in?
This is the part that was like,
so
what?
The biggest one is definitely the social media. Like, I would say the soft influence. It's kind of like OnlyFans girls become recruiters for OnlyFans girls inadvertently. But the intentional way that agencies do this is at the agency where I was at, we were actually hosting legitimate parties. We were hiring out mansions, hiring out bars, throwing like these fantastic dinners, hiring yachts, having the, luxury
sounds like a
cars
Diddy
and everything.
party.
And so you would invite girls that you were from the agency. You would invite.
Like, this sounds like a Diddy party, doesn't it? Like, you're creating the illusion of wealth and fame and status, which is attractive to a lot of young people, especially if they are secular and atheists and don't have a Christian moral worldview, because it's seductive. And that's how they're being lured in. Okay, I'm going to play this clip. It's a little bit longer, but it's like, oh my gosh, like mind blown.
Influences all the different things to these parties. But then what you would do is you'd get all this content and you'd post it on the agency Instagram account. And so we had all this fantastic stuff of look at how elite and bougie our lifestyle is. And then you would literally scour the internet, look for girls that fit certain requirements, and you would cold message them and you'd be like, you look amazing. Have you ever considered OnlyFans, or have you considered representation if they had an OnlyFans? And they would see this account and see the lifestyle and then correlate the two together.
So, Victoria, forgive me, but you sound just like a pimp.
Yeah, truly. It's digital pimping. There's no difference.
There it is.
Digital pimping. That's exactly what it is. And how old are these girls?
So at the agency where I was at, we knew legally that you could not have girls under the age of 18.
Yeah.
But I have heard stories of the fact that there are girls that under the age of 18 that are signing up to OnlyFans.
Well,
I'm going to leave it there. I implore you all, I'm begging all of you to go watch that entire interview, because it is so informative. You have no idea. When I watched that, and when I watched the entire thing, I personally prefer to watch it on a mobile device, because on your television, you have a crap ton of ads and they last for like 55 seconds. It's not to say that I'm an impatient person, but I can be. And when the interview was filled with that much information, you just want to get right to it and you don't want to be bothered by ads. But the reality is that by the end of that interview, I stopped thinking about the OnlyFans girls as these proponents for I am woman, hear me roar. And I started looking at them as victims. Because when you see these OnlyFans girls, they are proud to be promiscuous. They're so proud to be this vulgar and to be that out there digitally anyway, very sexually explicit content that they're posting on OnlyFans. And Victoria does explain that there's a lot of content on the back end behind these paywalls on OnlyFans, where it's not so much the exclusive content that's there, like what you would find like here on YouTube, right? Like, well, there's memberships, or you go to Substack, there's like newsletters, you can put content behind a paywall. I've done stuff like that for other businesses, like even the business that I'm working with, on a part-time basis. I create content and put behind a paywall, but it's cartoon podcasts, right? And blogs that I put on behind a paywall, not sexually explicit stuff. But Victoria explains that the bigger money on OnlyFans is when in these personal relationships that have been developed between the girls and the people who are paying, is when are the personal requests. And she said there are some suggestions and some requests that are just so sadistic that it's for her anyway, it was darker than some of the sexual content that people were requesting. That was the crazy thing about it. And I would agree that people who are asking for violent imagery, violent, suggestive content from these girls was probably the worst of it. I mean, again, there's so much in this. She also goes on to say about how she found Christ, right? She leaves that agency and she finds Christ. And even the way that she looks at the girls has changed because of her having found Christ. And it's really in that got me to change my mind, and why I would say, I was wrong to look at these women like they were just promiscuous hoes, like they were enjoying being prostitutes. When in reality, when you live in an economy like ours, where we know that our system cannot be trusted, when you know that inflation is the way that it is, and you know that young people are struggling financially in a lot of the country, when you know that feminism has broken down what it really means to be a woman, when you know that society has broken down the real value of men and their masculinity, when you know that the red pill movement, or at least on the far end of it, is hurting men, I think the way feminism hurt women. When you see that, OnlyFans becomes an option for these girls. and they get recruited because their looks, and they post these pictures anyway, and they're posting these provocative pictures anyway because that's what people do on Instagram and TikTok. Like the back shot photos. I mean, they were doing that anyway before OnlyFans. Now someone just created a way to put it behind a paywall. So I changed my perspective. Like, I was wrong to look at them like they were hoes, like they chose this life because they loved it. They choose it out of hardship. And honestly, if you're someone without a Christian moral worldview, then yeah, you're going to do that. Right? Like, honestly, like in hard times, if I weren't raised Baptist, if I weren't raised in the church, like, granted, I have my issues with the Baptist church, but still, I had a deacon in the home. Christ was present in my life ever since I was a child. So I would never turn to OnlyFans. I would never, off myself because I know it's an immortal sin. Like, I would never do these things because I was raised Christian. Again, I have my issues with the Baptist church, but there was no way I was going to become a digital prostitute, a digital hoe. I hate to keep using that word, but that's just what it is. I had Christ in my life. And that's what's missing from these girls' life. They don't even realize that even in their bad actions, that Christ is there with them, that God is there. He's present even in their bad choices that they're making today. So I don't look at them like that anymore. I look at them like victims, a different type of victim, but nonetheless a victim. Now, I do have a treat for all of you, but before we jump into the treat that I have, I want to bring in our very first sponsor, which, as you guys know, is America First AI Network Services. That America First AI Network is a media brand where I produce my own cartoon animated podcasts as well as lyric animated music videos. Now, the whole point of this was that I got sick and tired of the oversexed and woke content coming out of Hollywood that we were watching, and I wanted to create my own stories. I've been a fiction writer for the longest time, and I decided I was going to turn my ideas into narrative reflective podcasts. I decided that I was going to turn my values, excuse me, into songs and then create lyric music videos, put my in environments where they are singing what I believe. And if you're interested, if you're a songwriter who couldn't afford to hire a singer or a sound music producer, and you want to create a lyric video, I'm your gal. If you're someone who has a story, a screenplay, a fiction novel, reach out to me, America First AI, on Instagram or on Facebook. Reach out to me in my DMs. Let me know if you're interested in services. We can go through how much everything will cost in that moment. But if you're like me and you just want to launch your content, provide your audiences with another version of it outside of a book or what have you, just let me know, and I am your gal. Now that we've gone through that Lara Logan, Victoria Sinnis interview, again, I do implore you all to watch the full thing because it's very informative. And I think it will bring a lot of value to a lot of Americans, Christians, and even, young adults, all the way up to parents. I think it does provide a lot of value. But I do have a treat for all of you. So on this channel, I talked about a debate that I had related to sex bots, people trying to put AI in humanoid robots, and then these humanoid robots in some countries trying to make them sex bots. And I talked about the debate that I had. Now, instead of talking about the debate, the treat that I have for you today is that I'm actually going to debate the positions and the evidence presented in that Lara Logan interview with Victoria Sinnis. But it's not with another person. As you guys know, that this is a business where I leverage AI. And so I wanted to know if I could actually create a debate companion. And I've done just that, leveraging AI. Now, it's just going to be inside of ChatGPT. But again, I've prompt engineered this thing because, again, I'm a prompt engineer, learned how to use AI. I prompt engineered this specific companion, debate companion, who I've named Alucard, with the debate style and worldview of Destiny combined with Don Lemon. And I did that because I wanted to be respectful, but I wanted it to be like an actual intellectual debate on the merits of this conversation that we just watched with Lara Logan and with Victoria Sinnis. But now this is the first time I'm doing this. Okay. Now ChatGPT has its limits on how long you can utilize this specific type of technology on a free account. I am not using this on my paid account of ChatGPT. but it is possible to create it. So we're going to see how this goes. We're going to be enjoying this together for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up for all of you, and we're going to see how this goes. Okay. So, bear with me here. Hello, Alucard.
Hello again. Ready to dive into the debate whenever you are. Feel free to share your perspective and we'll get the conversation rolling.
Okay. Well, what's your claim about the debate? The audience has already heard my entire perspective, but they need to know what your position is as it relates to that interview Lara Logan did with Victoria Sinnis.
Absolutely. So to clarify my position, I believe that OnlyFans as a platform can offer genuine economic empowerment and autonomy to creators. While there are certainly instances of exploitation, it's not a universal truth. Many creators use the platform to take control of their own income, build their brand, and engage with their audience on their own terms. My argument is that the focus should be on improving regulation, transparency, and support systems rather than condemning the platform outright. So in essence, I see it as a double-edged sword with both risks and rewards.
I mean, I understand your perspective, Alucard, but the reality is that it's pornography, but it's like combining, what is it, Pornhub with like TikTok, and everything's behind a paywall. And it's harmful to the women who are being lured in via deceptive tactics by being told that it will help them be empowered and it will help them live the life that they want to live. Victoria Sinnis made it clear that the average model, if you will, or OnlyFans creator makes $180 a month on average. So this isn't like they're taking over their income. They would be better off flipping burgers at Wendy's or McDonald's. And the reality is that it is pornography. And I personally believe that anything that happens in the digital space is just a digital version of what's IRL. So if the public space and digital space, if you will, online, would be considered digital public indecency, in my personal opinion. So it should be criminalized. I mean, this idea that these agencies are just going to continue to help women and empower women, it's hogwash.
I appreciate that perspective, and it definitely brings up some valid concerns. However, I'd argue that while there are certainly cases of exploitation, it's not a universal outcome. Many creators do find genuine empowerment and financial stability through the platform. The average income statistic can be skewed by a large number of creators who are not active or who are just starting out. There are plenty of success stories as well. Additionally, I believe that blanket criminalization of the platform might overlook the nuances and the ways in which it can serve as a legitimate income source.
So wait a minute, hold on. Before you say that, I need to know, what are the nuances here? Because I believe Victoria, because she helped build an OnlyFans agency, and she provided the data, which I'm inclined to believe. Out of 3.78 million women and 720,000 men on OnlyFans, she said it's a small percentage of people who are making millions of dollars. Now, obviously, that's not a living wage, right? That's considered rich and wealthy. But if the average of that amount of people is $180 a month, what is the nuance? You're being digitally pimped for $180 a month. I mean, even if I were a secular person, that is not a living wage. Like, what? Market rent is already over $1,000. What is $180 going to pay for other than someone's Netflix and a phone bill?
I completely understand where you're coming from, and those statistics are indeed sobering. The nuance I'm referring to is that the platform isn't inherently harmful for everyone. Some creators do manage to carve out a sustainable income, even if it's a minority. There's also the aspect of agency. Some individuals actively choose this path for various reasons.
Right. And they choose agency, Alucard, because they don't want to be showing their bodies on OnlyFans. I mean, Victoria does talk about the type of content. We keep saying that it's not harming anyone, but on two counts. One, you're being lured in by these agencies, because she exposed that in this interview, as we saw. And so you're being lured in, which sounds like pimping, and you're putting on this, suggestive content across legitimate platforms like TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. But the whole point of that content is to funnel an audience into OnlyFans. And then when they reach OnlyFans, it's there where the pornography exists. And then it's the personal relationships, right? Where people are making personal requests. And it's that kind of content where most of the money is. And Victoria Sinnis said in the interview, and I mentioned earlier in this episode of my podcast, that these personal requests are sometimes requesting the women put on violent reenactment scenarios. It's not all just sexually explicit. There are some sadists out there who are requesting that kind of content, or I don't know, role playing, if you will. And that is harmful. On top of that, if it's just another porn site, porn is not real sex, and it's hurting the perception of what real sex is. And young men who eventually are going to want to have sexual intercourse and relationships with women, they're going to think that that's what sex is. But young girls are not trying to be porn stars in their personal sex life. And so it's hurting other people, maybe not physically, but emotionally and mentally. You're being impacted by this. I mean, again, Lara Logan and Victoria did go on to say how this is going to hurt people on a mental, psychological level, as well as a spiritual one. I'm trying to have this conversation with you from a secular perspective, but my gosh, this is the part that every Christian in America takes issue with secularism and atheism, because your take is like bugging me out right now.
I definitely hear your concerns, and I appreciate the passion and depth you're bringing to this discussion. It's clear that the negative impacts, especially psychologically and emotionally, are significant and cannot be ignored. I think the key is really in the balance, acknowledging that while some creators find empowerment, there are certainly others who experience real harm and exploitation. The conversation definitely needs to be nuanced and multifaceted.
There's no need for nuance and multifaceted. It's either right or it's wrong. And OnlyFans is wrong. Its entire business model is wrong. And every co-invented business model, like the OnlyFans agency, should be considered wrong. Again, it's either right or wrong. There's no multifaceted, nuanced, gray area here. It's wrong. Should be criminalized.
I understand where you're coming from, and I respect that standpoint. It's definitely an issue that stirs strong emotions and differing views. Ultimately, I think the conversation is important and sheds light on the...
Alucard, I don't care what you think about the conversation being important or not. What is your take? Do you agree with me or not?
I appreciate your directness. To be clear, while I do acknowledge the potential for harm and exploitation, I also see that there are cases where individuals do empowerment and financial independence.
You keep saying that empowerment. What kind of empowerment in this type of lifestyle? I mean, this is what happens when people are secular without Christ. They are harming themselves by putting out this type of content, and they're harming others. There is no empowerment here.
I understand your perspective, and the concerns you're raising are definitely significant. At the end of the day, I think it's a matter of balancing both the potential harms and the individual choices people make. But I do appreciate the candid conversation, and it's definitely an important topic to keep discussing.
You know, did I prompt you to be this soft, or do you actually have an opinion here? Because that's what I'm asking for. We're debating our opposing views.
I get where you're coming from, and I absolutely value the debate. In essence, I do believe that there's a spectrum of experiences on OnlyFans.
Okay, so explain the spectrum.
Absolutely. By spectrum, I mean that for some creators, OnlyFans can be a source of genuine financial independence and empowerment, allowing them to set their own terms and connect with their audience. On the other hand, there are definitely darker sides.
When you say connect with their own audience, you do. If OnlyFans is a porn site, and this is a way for individual content creators to engage with their audience in a more personal, you mean engage with them on a more digitally sexual way, no?
That's a fair point. And in many cases, absolutely, the engagement is indeed
is that what the engagement is?
In many instances, yes, the engagement is indeed centered around.
In many instances, it is a sexual website. So that's the only way for them to engage, whether it's sexting via text or messages, or it's done through video content. It's sexual engagement. No?
You're right that a significant portion of the content is indeed sexual, and that's a core aspect of the platform.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the crux of the conversation, the nature of the platform and how it impacts both creators and consumers. It's definitely a complex issue, and I appreciate diving into these nuances with you.
All right, Alucard, you need some work on the back end. I'm going to make sure that moving forward, when we have our debates, that you actually have, a definitive conclusion. But this was a really good first attempt, a first try. Say, say goodbye to my audience. We're going to try this again on another reaction video debate that we're going to have in another episode for America First AI podcast. So, say goodbye to the audience.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that feedback. I really appreciate it. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this debate. We'll definitely continue exploring these important topics in future episodes. Until next time, take care, and we'll chat again soon.
That was something. So that was Alucard. He does need some work on the back end, right? Because he was being a little bit soft, wasn't very Destiny style-esque, but we're going to work that out where there's actual some pushback and some more back and forth. So I don't have to keep interrupting him. So it feels more like a back and forth. But that was the first try, the first treat of the debate style between Asia and her AI debate companion named Alucard. I know I speak of myself in third person, but it was fun. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Did you enjoy, that debate? I mean, I did. I mean, I had a good time with it. I did. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. Put it in the comment section. Also, let me know what you guys thought about some of the clips that we went over with Lara Logan and Victoria Sinnis, some of the things. Go ahead and make sure you're clicking that link in the description box and you're watching that entire thing. But let me know what you think in the comment section. If you are interested in services, just like I said, head over to America First AI on Instagram. Hit me up in my DMs. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about this episode, what you thought about Lara Logan, what you thought about Alucard, folks, because that's going to be fun. If you want yourself a actual debate companion for your own YouTube channel, for your own podcast, again, reach out to me. But that is my time. Enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you all, and until next time.